movement with the National Guard and the intelligence services that causes the killing and destruction of the Sunnis. And then there is the American occupation, which destroys the Iraqi people.
The world came to know them through grisly videos of kidnappings and attacks on foreign and Iraqi troops. A powerful intimidation tool that led many companies to evacuate, reconstruction to stop, and some nations to pull out their troops. 3 years on, the fighters are waging a relentless campaign against the most powerful army in the world. Around Baghdad, but mainly in Al-Anbar, the one area coalition forces are still not able to control despite several massive military operations. These fighters say they are protecting Iraqis from the brutality of a foreign occupation.
The occupation is hiding thousands of crimes. When they leave, the world will see the full picture.
The chaos in Iraq has meant there is no shortage of fighters. In these pictures obtained by Al-JAZEERA, new recruits are training in the art of war among the palm groves on the outskirts of Baghdad. Ambushes, kidnappings with the help of local residents, tactical instructions to hit enemy helicopters, rescue operations, and heavy artillery assaults. A 2-week intensive course in guerrilla warfare, and in the end, a graduation ceremony as a new class of fighters is ready to pick up arms. Huda Abdelhamid, Al Jazeera.
Every year, thousands of North Koreans try to escape poverty and hardship under Kim Jong-il's communist government. Many cross over to China before moving on to other countries.
But up to 500,000 North Koreans have now settled in China, where the threat of being sent home means they're often forced to lead a secret life. Well, Al Jazeera's Tony Chang met one woman who crossed the border at Yanji, hoping for a better future.
The barren and deserted mountain range that separates China from North Korea. And for this woman, a new home in a land where she thinks she can build a better life for herself. A recent refugee, she wants to keep her identity hidden. North Koreans caught in China are immediately sent back, where they face prison or execution. She'd escaped only 16 days before, and she told me what it was that prompted her to flee.
In North Korea, we heard about the nuclear test. Everyone thought the test would kill people and lead to more starvation. That's why I came to China.
Further south, the border point close to where she fled. Everything appeared to be calm under the watchful eye of Kim Il-sung. As we watched, a delegation of Chinese military officials emerged to meet their counterparts from the other side. The discussions seemed serious but friendly. Below them, 2 fishermen unsuccessfully trawled the river for food. Life in the north seems to have changed little while its neighbor has flourished. And despite UN sanctions, traffic still seemed to be moving to and fro, this truck carrying copper ore into China. And trucks going in from China too, with nothing more than a cursory check. The Chinese government's worried about putting too much pressure on North Korea, just in case it cracks. This is the thin line that divides China and North Korea. But this border here is a very big problem for China. It's long and very, very easy to cross. Unlike the border with South Korea, this one is not very well fortified. And this river here that you can see in about a month's time will be completely frozen. And then people can just walk across. Conservative estimates reckon more than 400,000 North Koreans are already living in China. It's a refugee crisis that China doesn't want to admit to, and it could be 10 times worse if instability was to upset the regime. And this is the dream that attracts the refugees, the Chinese city of Yanji. Like much of China, bustling with traffic and commerce. But only a lucky few get into the cities. The rest forced to hide because of their illegal status. For them, a life of virtual slavery, working as farmhands and laborers, often abused by unscrupulous employers who know they can't emerge from their existence in the shadows. And with that burden, the knowledge that you can never go home, nor do anything about the plight of the family you left behind.
I'm very worried about my family. In North Korea, if someone escapes, then the whole family is punished. I'm aware of that, but I can't do anything about it. So I just have to live here day to day.
So even for those who do manage to escape from North Korea, it's just the beginning of a very long journey on which there's little opportunity to turn back. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, on the Chinese border with North Korea.
Well, it was the issue of North Korea that dominated much of the talk at the APEC summit in Vietnam over this weekend. But that issue still failed to get a mention in the final declaration that came at the end of the summit. Well, Al Jazeera's David Hawkins joins us now from Hanoi. The US was pushing very hard on the North Korea issue. Do you think they're happy with the outcome?
Well, that's hard to say. On the one hand, they did get 21 nations to agree to issue a statement of sorts. It wasn't a public statement, it wasn't printed on paper, but it was passed around by word of mouth, so to speak. So they did get a consensus. On the other hand, it wasn't a very strong statement, and it wasn't included in the official final statement that came out of these meetings.
David, do you have any sense on just who held sway on the issue of North Korea at this summit? Was it China or was it the United States?
I think it was probably a little of both, a compromise amongst different interests between the interests of the United States, Japan, China, Russia, South Korea in particular. South Korea has said that while it supports the UN sanctions against North Korea, it will not go all the way to enforce them. For example, it's not willing to board North Korean ships to search for illegal contraband on those ships. So I think that this statement reflects a general consensus, and whenever you have that kind of consensus, especially amongst so many different nations, it's going to be somewhat watered down.
David, of course, APEC is supposed to be about trade. Did they make any headway there?
Well, they did make a strong statement about their desire to get the Doha round of the World Trade Organization talks going again, that they say that they will make every effort to get those talks restarted, including making some concessions in terms of farm subsidies and lowering tariffs.
Al Jazeera's David Hawkins in Hanoi.
Well, still to come on Al Jazeera, the battle to lure tourists back to one of the world's most spectacular sites. There it is, the Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe.
And another spectacular sight, the 3,000-year-old Egyptian temples in danger of crumbling away.
Osama, translated from Arabic, means lion.
Sometimes people have a stereotype of who is an Arab.
But in the post-9/11 Western world, that name has a different impact.
This woman whispers, "Why did that person call you Osama?" I said, "That's my name." She says, "Oh, that's so unfortunate."
September 11th gave them the opportunity to be able to hate.
Being Osama reveals what it is to carry that name in the West. Witness Being Osama at this time on Al Jazeera.
Qatar National Bank, the official bank of the 15th Asian Games, Doha 2006.
The stone is just completely turning back to sand.
These tourists are putting an increasing pressure on each one of these monuments.
Temples of Doom on Al-JAZEERA.
Now with Al-JAZEERA, ordinary people have a voice.
If it's newsworthy, it gets on air, whether it's Bush or Bin Laden.
We're going to seek out the areas neglected by the Western-oriented media.
Right now, Al-JAZEERA is the new frontier.
Do the right thing for the right reason, and that's what I see Al-JAZEERA doing.
In my lifetime as a journalist, there will not be another channel launched on this scale.
This is Al Jazeera, the top story. One person has been killed and 9 people injured in an Israeli airstrike on a car in Gaza. It comes after hundreds of Palestinians formed a human shield around a house against a threatened airstrike by the Israeli army.
And a suicide bomber has killed 22 people in southern Iraq. They detonated a van rigged with explosives in a crowd of unemployed builders.
Well, thousands of Congolese are struggling to survive by working in illegal and dangerous gold mines in the east of the country. Hundreds die every year in mudslides or when roofs in underground passageways collapse.
The mines produce gold worth millions of dollars a year. And during Congo's long civil war, rival militias fought for control and thousands of civilians lost their lives. From those gold mines of East Congo, Al Jazeera's John Cookson reports.
Ancient civilizations used to believe hell was in the bowels of the earth. Well, maybe they were right. Right now we're on the edge of the pit. I'm just going to step down just a metre or so to look over the edge. And oh my goodness me, it goes on even further. That must be about 30 metres down there. Conditions are grim, even by Congolese standards. The mud sucks at their feet. Muscles strain as they dig through tons of earth. They have to shift a chunk of mountain to find just a few grains of gold. No gold, and they don't get paid that day. This is just back-breaking work. How they do this all day, I just don't know. We're at the bottom now of this gold pit. All the time you feel as if the earth is going to fall in on you. There's a terrible smell down here. I don't know what it is. It's like sulfur or something like that. This young miner tells me, I have to work to earn money to survive. That's all my life is. We learned he was earning just 35 US cents a day. Meanwhile, in the nearby gold town of Monkboilu, the Mr. Bigs, the dealers, are making a profit, selling the gold to smugglers for $20 a gram. The price will increase many times more before it reaches markets like London. Well, night has fallen here in the damp jungle of East Congo, and we've stumbled across an illegal gold mine. Now, no one is supposed to be working inside of here. We're going in to see what we can find. Deep inside, we discovered more desperate Congolese searching for gold. Some told us they'd worked down this abandoned and dangerous pit for years. Miners like 15-year-old Maki
He said his father was dead and he was supporting his entire family. I left them to their meal and to their thoughts. Even in the underground gloom, I think I caught their sense of emptiness. John Cookson, Al Jazeera, East Congo.
The lifeblood of Zimbabwe's economy used to be its tourist industry. In fact, it was once the country's fastest growing sector, with tens of thousands of tourists each year.
But like so many other industries in Zimbabwe, tourism has been crippled by the economic sanctions and political controversy of Robert Mugabe's regime. Farai Savenzo has this report.
The Victoria Falls, a United Nations natural heritage site, marks the Zimbabwe-Zambia border to the very north of the country. And on the Zambezi, it is without doubt Zimbabwe's premier tourism attraction. There was a time when tourism earned the country $400 million in foreign currency. But that was before the land grabs, the violent elections, and the marches of white farmers.
Here on the Zambezi, the boats are out, the tourists are coming from Zambia and Zimbabwe. It's one of the most natural beauty sites in the world. The Victoria Falls is a kilometre down that way. The hippopotamus are up in the evening dusk. And it's quite clear that this kind of beauty is exactly what Zimbabwe needs to sell to the outside world. And long after the politics and the politicians are dead and gone, the Zambezi will still be here.
When you come in the country, you actually think you are in a kind of paradise, European kind of place.
Never feel unsafe here. I can't say that. On the contrary, compared to downtown Joburg, this is really.
The authorities are making every effort to make this town safe for visitors. The police are out on the streets to keep the criminals away. And the visitors from both east and west are thronging the tiny airport. But the long-term improvement of tourism in Zimbabwe depends largely on how the government will tackle the economic crisis and erase the memory of an unfriendly, violent state.
Well, they took more than 1,000 years to build, and they've stood up to the ravages of time for more than 3 millennia.
But now the famous temples of Luxor and Karnak in Egypt are facing a new threat.
The stone blocks used to build them are slowly being eaten away by the waters of the River Nile. And as Stephanie Decker reports, time is running out.
They are among the most precious monuments in the world. To the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, they were houses of eternity, intended to last forever. But now, rising groundwater levels in the Nile Valley are threatening their very existence.
If we don't get our act together and do something quite serious within the next 10 years, there aren't going to be any monuments left to protect. It is that bad.
Since the construction of the Aswan High Dam in the late 1950s, farmers have begun to irrigate their fields up to 3 times a year, and the land around the temples is now almost constantly submerged. This excess water, which is rich in salt, is seeping into the walls at Luxor Temple.
This is a particularly bad spot of the wall where you can see the salt crystallization has not only formed a white crust here, but it is literally popping the stone off the wall.
3 kilometers north of Luxor lies the Temple of Karnak, the largest religious site on earth, and constructed over a 1,300-year period. But just in the last few years, salt water damage has led to color change on some of its precious reliefs. Many of its inscriptions have been lost forever.
I went to visit the Temple of Karnak and the Temple of Luxor, and I saw that the water eats the limestone. When I saw this, I screamed to try to ask the international community to come and save the temple nearby.
It is hoped that this project, sponsored by the Swedish government and the US Agency for International Development, will permanently reduce groundwater levels at the Luxor and Karnak sites. But over on the west bank of the Nile, where farmland stretches to the very edge of the temple belt, salt water continues to destroy the precious monuments. If this door to the past is to remain open, it is clear that the authorities will have to extend their salvage project to the temples on the west bank. It's a race against time. Stephanie Decker, Al Jazeera.
Such a shame, those monuments just look amazing.
Yeah, I've been there. It's pretty amazing stuff. It'd be a tragedy if they fell apart.
Yeah.
Well, that's it from the team here in Kuala Lumpur for the moment. A weather update is coming up next. If you want any more on those stories, log on to aljazeera.net/English. The Al Jazeera News Hour is coming up again at the top of the hour, but from now, it's goodbye.
Goodbye.
I have always said that I like to be where the new frontiers are. Right now, Al Jazeera is the new frontier.
The people who have an interesting story to tell that is worth telling.
I'll say what I like, I'm not beholden to anyone. If you don't like it, f*** off.
But I think one thing you can definitely say about Al Jazeera is that it will and does evoke a reaction.
I care more about the truth and getting the truth in my story than I do about controlling the message like I did before when I was a spokesperson.
Documentaries, current affairs and entertainment. Al Jazeera gives you a fresh look on our world.
Al Jazeera is about perspective. The Arabic language channel was about presenting a new perspective. Now we're doing it in English.
Experience a land of many surprises, the romance, and a world of enchantment. And fun-filled family days. Visit Malaysia Year 2007, celebrating 50 years of nationhood.
Al Jazeera is setting the news agenda on the web. You can open different doors with this net. This net is alive. aljazeera.net/English.
People and Power investigates the fight for the future of Mexico. Between the third richest man in the world, Carlos Slim, and the Zapatista leader, Subcomandante Marcos. And, going undercover in Turkmenistan, Juliana Rufus finds out what life is like in one of the most secretive countries on Earth. People and Power. After the headlines on Al Jazeera.
Hello, I'm Hamish McDonald in Kuala Lumpur with the main stories here on Al Jazeera. One person has been killed and 6 injured in an Israeli airstrike on a car in Gaza. 2 Hamas members were travelling in the vehicle at the time, but officials say they escaped unharmed. Witnesses say the attack took place near a mosque in Gaza City's Zaytun neighbourhood as worshippers were leaving prayers. The Israeli army has confirmed the strike but has given no details on its target. The Israeli attack follows a defiant display of people power. Hundreds of Palestinians took to the roof of a home to act as human shields after a phone warning it was about to be bombed by Israel. The Israeli army was forced to call off the attack, which it says was aimed at a member of Hamas. A suicide bomber has killed 22 people in the city of Hilla in southern Iraq. The bomber drove up to a queue of unemployed builders in a van rigged with explosives. Around 50 people were wounded in the attack. The violence comes as Syria's foreign minister heads to Baghdad to discuss cooperation on security issues. It's the first visit by a Syrian minister to Baghdad since the 2003 US-led invasion. Leaders from the Asia-Pacific region have demanded a fresh start to global free trade talks in a joint written statement marking the end of the APEC summit in Vietnam. The joint declaration warned of grave consequences if the so-called Doha round of the stalled World Trade Organization talks were to fail. Those talks collapsed in July. The APEC statement, however, did not mention North Korea despite it dominating much of this summit. The US President George Bush later left Hanoi for a day of events in Ho Chi Minh City. He'll then go on to Indonesia. Well, we're back with more news at the top of the hour, but for now, it's People and Power. This is Al Jazeera.
Welcome to People and Power. I'm Shireen Al-Feki. In today's program, a fight for the future of Mexico and a rare glimpse of absolute power in Turkmenistan. We begin with Mexico. The country is split between supporters of the president-elect, Felipe Calderón, and his defeated but still defiant opponent, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. There have been bombs in the capital and violence in the provincial city of Oaxaca, where thousands have protested against the governor, who's accused of repression and electoral fraud.